Welcome back to my perspective. It's your host Rick, and you got JC back in.
Hey.
Our topic today, which I chose, was child support. And I think that's a lovely topic for us to talk about. I for certain hate child support, uh, but that's because of my own personal feelings. But I think that I personally don't feel like child support is used properly as it should be. I think we all think at this point the system is broken. We know the system is broken. I think certain states is despicable as far as child support goes, especially New York. But with that being said, uh, I had a question, JC. Do you think everybody deserves child support? Now, with that being said, um, this goes with the mentality of the dad being the one being put on child support versus the mom being the one put on child support, because the people shy away from that idea and just promote without even asking for the man to be on child support because it's his duty to uh, support his child in the ways that's supposed to support the mom's lifestyle.
So I don't agree with your last statement that it's his duty to support the child in alignment with the mom's lifestyle.
That
I
that's
don't
how
think
that's how it's cued.
I
You know what I'm saying?
I don't agree with that. I think the system is flawed because number one, I don't think for those men who are placed on child support because they choose not to do certain things on their own accord or it can't be an understanding between both parties. I feel like they worry about like what the mom is spending the money on, right? It's like, oh, the money should be spent on my child. Granted, but what does that look like? If the child is with me 90% of the time, does that not look like a water bill getting paid? Does that not look like rent being paid, electric? Like I think sometimes they don't coincide the care for the child with the care of the house that the child lives in. Because granted, if I didn't have a child, do I need more than one bedroom place to live? Granted, if I didn't have a child, is my grocery bill still the same as it was if it's just me as a single person? So I think it's twofold, right? Because many be like, oh, I'm on child support, child support. I don't know what you're doing with the money. Not saying that all women don't use the money for things that have nothing to do with the child, but I don't think men think about the whole household expense as being a part of child support, which it is. I don't think they think about their child getting their hair done, if it's extracurricular activities for school, if there's field trips, like all of those things cost money. You know what I'm saying? Like they aren't just things that the child isn't wanting to do or wanting to take part of. And my other take on child support is I know from two men in my life who were placed on child support who had their kids, right? Who were 90% caretakers of their children, but they still had to pay child support monthly due to whatever reasons there wasn't a system worked out amongst the adults, right? So, like you said earlier, the system is very flawed, but I think we have to look at both pictures of it. And also, we don't take into account the amount of mothers who pay child support or the amount of fathers who don't even look for child support when they are the sole providers for their children. So I think the overall system needs a rehaul. I think adults need to not be so concerned with, oh, I think this person's spending money on that, and look at the household, right? My household expenses would be cut, maybe not significantly, but they would be cut if a person did not have a child or children to add to those expenses, right? Washing clothes more than once a week. You gotta cook every night, so that means you need more food. Like I don't think those things are accounted for when men talk about, oh, what is she doing with my child support? Like yeah, I have to live, right? But do I need a 3 bedroom house or a 2 bedroom house if I don't have a child, right? Do I need to do certain things if I don't have a child? Am I spending more gas money if I'm not taking my child to and from school, to and from soccer practice, to and from football practice? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think all that is accounted for when men talk about the other parent's expenses when it comes to their child support.
Okay.
There was a lot, I know, but you know.
No, no, no. I understand what you're saying. I just, I'm curious. Okay, so let me get this right. So what you're saying is that you agree with no. I heard you saying that men, most men, or some men feel like the woman shouldn't feel that she should have the particular lifestyle in her mind. Uh, okay, the statement you used was, um, on a blank. You said a man is always first thing in his mind was, oh, what is she doing with my money? Are you using the money for the child?
Yeah.
Which I've been on that other side, and if you're an active parent, in my opinion, if you're an active parent, you could kind of see where the money going. So, do you agree with you would prioritize what the money I'm giving you is for? You would your first thing would be my daughter should have the article of clothing that I gave you the money for that she need clothes.
But here's the thing, right? When you and this is going to hit a little personal for me. When you give someone a set of money, right? You're not saying when you pay child support, it comes out of your check, right? It is coming out of your account and going to this person's account, whether it's a
That all
card,
depends on the state. Sometimes they
whatever.
be like, oh yeah, 2 G's a month.
I mean, but what I'm saying is, you can't actively say, "Hey, when you get my child support check, I want you to buy my child some sneakers. I want you to buy my child some clothes." Like you don't have that right. You are giving money to support the child, and
Which
that support does not only look like clothing the child. It can also, and I'm using the house as the expense because that was a conversation I had, so with someone like, "Oh, you would still have rent." Yeah, but when I have a 3 bedroom house, I'm renting versus studio because it's just me. You know what I'm saying? So while there are certain things we need to live, men are concerned about what I'm doing with the money that they're giving me to support their child when everything that I do, from paying my rent on time, making sure all my bills are paid, are part of supporting that child, right?
I also feel like I'm sorry. I feel like those men that have that issue are the men that see they girl, excuse me, their BM or a child's mother um, on the gram, or you know what I mean, or doing all this dirty shit, throwing
But
bread
we,
around
but we
when
can't say
when
that.
when the
Like
the
but
baby's
that's
at
just
grandma's house. No, I'm not even trying to be on that type
but,
time. And I
but
completely understand where it looks like, oh, why you worried about what the fuck I'm doing?
because that's what it looks like, right? Because now you're worried about what I'm doing. You're under the impression that I can only do these things if you're paying child support. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, you are coinciding my lifestyle with the support that you're giving me. So that's for you. You're saying if she didn't have my child and she didn't have this extra money, which sometimes we know isn't a lot. Some people getting $8 a week, like that's gas money. You know what I'm saying? Like that's lunch money for your child.
What you gotta call it?
So
It's really
so
got to be a
you're,
perspective for real though. Because at the end of the day, every city, every state is different.
but that's what I'm okay. So I'm in PA, right? Your situation is in New York. So talking about Pennsylvania, some people, depending on your income, right? Because it's not just any old number. It's based off the person who's paying child support. I just want to say men. The person who's paying child is based off their income, right? Based off the state that they live in, right? So those are two factors.
Mm,
If you bring it home $300 a week, how much are you supporting your child with child support? Because they're not taking that much out your check.
but that shit is messed up. No, it's not just that. They probably wiped the whole 300.
But they
Yeah,
don't, and I'm telling you, I'm speaking on this from people I know
I
who
got you.
deal with child support. So I'm saying what I know from people. If a guy or a woman is bringing home $300 a week, they're not checking their whole check because the courts, and that might have been the past, but then of course like, oh, this person still got to live. So you're going to get this $70 a week, maybe 90, and you're going to be happy with it, and that's it. And also, let's not encounter the fact that if you stop working, You know how back in the days, like, oh, you don't go to child support, you in arrears, you going to jail. Nah, we can't force these people to work. We can't force these people to help take care of their children they help bring into this world. So while people are worried about the other person's expenses or what they look like on the gram, unless you know for a fact this person doesn't work, right? They live at home with their family members or something, and they partying every week. Your child is a mess. You know what I'm saying? Their hair not done, not cut. They don't have clean clothes. They don't have new clothes. You can't have the expectation that these people are living off of your child support. That's illogical.
It's 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 really messed up though, because there is such a trickle effect that people don't think about. Now, again,
Mm-hmm.
statistically, I could kind of push this towards the men more so than the women. Again, it ain't that common for it to be the woman, but yes. So what I'm about to say is more so for the men. Um, the trickle effect for all of this is pretty serious, and I don't think that people really look at it that way. I think that people rather want to fight and argue about how they feel. So I'm gonna give my perspective on a general level. I feel like the trickle effect is a lot of this it's all part of the system. A lot of this can lead to depression. So as a man that is struggling, working 90 hours a week, and I'm pulling home $120, you know what I mean, I'm bringing home $120 because child support got taken out. Based off of a salty female or a salty male that wants to be how they being and put you on child support in a wrong way. Now, again, this is not me coming on some personal shit because what I dealt with was a long time ago. I'm coming from the perspective where people don't think about the damage it has on the mental. So that man can only bring home $120. He can't have or that he can't have any type of lifestyle. He has to work 3, 4 jobs. Now, again, some people gonna say, "Oh, well, he grown. They shouldn't have been fucking. He shouldn't have fucking ruled." All right, well, it is what it is. So you got your president over here trying to ban abortion. We're not gonna say that. So like, so that with that being said, it's just like it's a lot. It's a lot that happens to the man, and then now we continue the cycle where deadbeat fathers, or we continue the cycle where a man feel like all he got to do is work because he don't got nothing else. Or a man that actually wants to take care of his child got to kill himself just to make ends meet. It's pretty messed up how people are getting away with that, and then some men might just want to commit suicide or say fuck it because there's no balance. They certain states, certain places, the way they respond to you is like food stamps. You know what I'm saying? You call food stamp off, they nasty. So the way they respond to you is just like, oh, all right, well, automatically, I personally feel like the way they treat people is the same for everybody. They think every man is a deadbeat if you on child support. Every man is this if you on that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like it's the same thing for food stamps. You got the I'm gonna be sexist again. Sorry. But you got these females that be sitting here keeping a job like, oh, I'm gonna take I was about to be grimy. I'm gonna take certain time down of work and make it look like I'm not getting enough hours just to have food stamps. Now again, granted, I completely understand that. But you are somebody that's messing with the system, and somebody like me or you or anybody else that really out here trying to buy groceries for $1,000 a day. You know what I'm saying? And we actually doing our job. We do what we got to do, and I got to witness somebody that wants to play into the system and continue the cycle of a stigma or a stereotype because you just feeding off of stamps. It's crazy to me. Like I'm sorry, like I don't veer to another direction, but I feel like in comparison, it's kind of the same system in a sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but if you try to get food stamps, right, and they give you that income base and all this and that, and I think I'm pretty sure you get put on child support if you have a baby with somebody and they ask what they doing, and there's a bunch of questions with that food stamp shit. But I feel like I know people that got on child support because they're trying to get food stamps. That shit is crazy. Sorry.
And And I get what you're saying for that piece of it, but I don't think that's a person problem. Like that's a systemic problem, right? The fact that you have to be below a certain income to get support in getting food when we know inflation is, continuously, on the rise. So, and I do get the part that for people who try to get any type of public assistance, no matter which state you in, if you have children, they do say, okay, well, hey, who's your child by, right? Who's the person you had a child by? Because if they're working, they should contribute to these costs, right? And lessen the cost of the taxpayers. So if they can say, like, all right, we're going to give you food stamps, we're going to give you cash, this person has to now pay child support, right? To help supplement what the state is giving you, right? Because that's how the system works. Like, we're not going to pay for your child if there are two able-bodied parents who can figure this out and someone can, give you additional support if the parents haven't, worked out their own thing. But again, I still feel like that's a systemic issue, right? Because we're not married, we're in two different households, right? Even if this person gives me a set amount of money a week, a month, however we decide, there still isn't a need for me to have assistance with food, right? Personally, I work two jobs, right? Make a pretty good living. But if I could get assistance with food, why would I not? Right? Because that's money that could go to something else that I need to take care of. Not a bag, not getting my hair done, not some sneaks, but something in my household. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the systems correlation between child support and services, but that's a bigger issue that, what I'm saying, systemically has to change in order for people in general just to be able to sustain and have food. On the support end of it, right? Because it's still the same premise that two people made a baby, two people should take care of the baby, right? And it's unfortunate that there are some parents who are doing what they're supposed to do, who are very active, who support, who understand that there is more to taking care of a child than just sending money every week. Like, I need to be present. I need to do these things. It's going to be haircuts, hairdos, dances, the whole work, costumes, Christmas, all of that thing, all of those things. And they know this certain amount of money will not be able to sustain those things, right? So how do you look at the system and say, for those people who are doing those things, who are being active, who are showing up, right? Is it they in the system because that person is getting subsidy from the state, right? Or is it because at one point they weren't doing all those things, right? So you have to look at it and see, like, what is the why behind the need for this person to be on child support? Because you can pay child support and it not be in the system, right? You can have a mutual agreement with the other parent of your child, right? To still be getting this financial stability monthly, weekly, however. But I guess looking at the picture when we talk about child support, because we're talking about solely child support through the courts, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so like what took place,
Because that's
right?
what we call child support. But if we discuss it between you and I'm not gonna say, hey, this is money to support my child. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when it's a personal conversation
What do
between
you want to say
two
though?
adults, between two adults, I feel like if you do it on a level where it's not court wise and you're discussing something with somebody and you're setting a certain amount, I think it's like what? That's very rare if you actually found some people that are adult between that time and give a real number. I'm actually curious what a real number would look like between two parents taking care of one child.
I mean, that's a good question, right?
Because
Because
I feel
what
like there's two perspectives on some people who feel like the lifestyle their child should live should be higher than the parent, which I feel like is wild. Now I feel like, excuse me, let me rewind that statement. I mean that to an extent, education wise, agreed. To an extent, so in my opinion, being born in '87, I feel like it builds character if your kid understands what it is to not have certain things.
but then
Not
again,
saying I'm
like then we
striving to be poor.
yeah, yeah, but then we get into a conversation of parents wanting their children to have the things that they did not have, right? Because they know what it felt like to grow up not having the things that you wanted.
We all
So
do that unconsciously, though. That's
unconsciously, right? So then it becomes uh right a back and forth thing. Because like how much of what I did not have do I give my child, right? Because what part, like you said, teaches them character. Like I don't want my child to be poor, right? But I also want my child to understand that everything cannot be given to you, right? You have to earn some things. Some things have to be worked towards. I feel like when we talk about child support, like a logical number, like what does that, like how do we get to that number? Because are you going to factor in like my son from kindergarten up until I want to say like fourth grade, he went to private school, right? So we
told you as a mom for that. That's just
so
just
so
crazy.
we factoring in private school, right? So then that's a cost, right? Now, could the father have said like, oh well, that's a choice, like you got to pay for that on your own? I mean, probably, but if that's something I want for our child, like, and I'm telling you, these are all the reasons why I want that for our child. Like, you can disagree, but it's still going to happen. So you might not help with that expense, right? So then, okay, he got to get a haircut, right? We know kids grow. So let's say you buy your kids clothes seasonally, right? So that's like at least 4 times a year you're buying new clothes. Probably more if they're in sports. Let's say that they in sports. So think about all the things you have to do, right? And then also think about how the child's time is split. Because now, if our child is split 50-50, I'm not expecting you to pay or to contribute an amount of money that's going to help, saying with my bills, right? Because my child is with you, they're with both of us the equal amount of time, right? So the same fees you're incurring, the same fees I'm incurring, we're gonna say that they break even, right? If they with you 6 months, with me 6 months, we're gonna break even on all our household expenses, groceries, all that, right? So that means we split everything down the middle. You don't give me anything, I don't give you anything. We should be cool, right? Because then we factor in our own when we with our kids. Are we taking them to the movies? Are we doing this? Are we doing like those things? Family vacations, all that stuff. But if I have my child 90% of the time and you get them on weekends, yes, I'm expecting you to factor in all of my household expenses in your child support. It may sound crazy, but again, like I'm going to go back to my original statement. And mind you, I'm super biased. I only have one child, so for me, it's like sis could be living in a studio for $550 a month. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, one of
Water
them
bill,
dudes. $550 a month.
water bill $30. Electric, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just thinking, if you think about if you live by yourself, right? Because if you live by yourself, typically you might not need a 3 bedroom house, right? With a full basement, all that stuff. You might want to live in an apartment where somebody take, you know what I'm saying? You throw your trash down the chute, somebody taking your trash, whatever the case is. But your expenses wouldn't be the same, you know what I'm saying, as they are when you have to factor in a child, especially teenagers when they want to be in the shower for an hour. You know what I'm saying? Your bill go from $60 to $100. Like
That's
those
true.
are things that aren't factored in by
But
any
again, it's also
systematic
a choice.
system.
Like you said, it's a choice.
It is a choice.
It's a choice for you to live in that lifestyle. It's a choice for you to
My
take your kid to
lifestyle,
private school. Is a choice.
yeah. But what did I
You
say though? I said
chose.
you might choose not to. You may choose not to help me pay for their private school. But if
But,
it's a court
but
order
what
and
if I
you're
don't
giving
want him?
me money,
But I don't want him in private school.
my child's still going to private school because that's what I
See,
want.
I ain't getting him a choice. I'm confused.
You get a choice.
All right, well, I want him to go to private school.
Well, where would you like for him to go? Because it ain't gonna be public.
Ooh.
You want to try charter school? You know what I'm saying? But again, and I feel like those are all conversations because you have a say so in that, right? As a parent, right? It's not just, oh, I'm paying you child support and I don't get to do nothing. And then you have some men, right, who feel like, oh, I'm paying you child support. That's all I'm ever going to do. I'm not giving you nothing extra. Don't ask me for nothing. Your mom better not ask me for nothing. Your
But
dad better not
again,
ask me for
but
nothing.
see, that's the system to where these men get salty like that because you got females, some
People,
females that
people,
give the men that mentality. Now I'm not saying every nigga is like that, but some of these niggas are created. They turn into these savages. They turn into these niggas. It's like, yo, fuck the child. And it's messed up because some females is just on some like, yo, nah. This is how I feel towards you. I want to be spiteful. So this is the direction I'm gonna turn. You know what I'm
But
saying? So
we can't say
now I'm
every
gonna
situation is
teach
like
you how to
that.
raise
We
a child.
can't say like we're putting everybody in a monolith. Like we're saying all females are here in this box. All males are here in this box. If I put you on child support, I'm salty, I'm bitter, I hate you. Da da da. If you
That's
put
the
me on
sum.
child
That's
support,
the sum. That box is pretty big though that you talking about. That box
and
big.
like I said, like this is all like this is all of my my
I
perspective,
feel
my
you,
general
but
thoughts
I'm
because
trying to let you know statistically, factually, that box is big. I'm not saying this every female. I'm not saying this every male, and I don't want people to feel that way. I know they don't feel that way, but realistically, it's very common. Now, unfortunately, in the higher class, matter of fact, let me take that back because it's not even. I definitely feel like it's a lower class mentality, and when you get to higher class, Cardi B and Offset. Same situation, similar stuff like that. Everybody doing all this talking. They're saying they're good to each other, good parents. The court system got Cardi getting well, they married, so I guess it's a little different. But it's certain stuff like that that just kind of get misconstrued. And I feel like to me, it's a low class mentality that we're crabs in a barrel type of shit. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, to an extent, I get that, but also think about the people who are in a relationship, right? They do everything for their partner. Everything, everything, everything. Child comes along and they no longer because someone becomes a parent, right? At some point, someone becomes a parent. Not both people all the time at the same time. Someone becomes a parent. The other person still wants to, live their life. They don't want to be a parent at this time. They want to be a parent on their own time. So what do you do when you've done everything for this person, right? You financially taken care of this person, right? Now they have a child, right? And now your third process is, oh, I'm only taking care of the child, but you have taken care of this person. So how do you factor that into child support? Because now this person, like you said, go back, they may be bitter or whatever, but they're used to being taken care of, right? You're no longer supporting this person because a child came along, right? And you're like, whatever, I'm not doing this for you. You know what I'm saying? So that person has to figure out a way to, if the only support you're going to provide is through child support, they got to live off of that, right? Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't go get a job or find another means of employment or something because they definitely should. But I'm thinking sometimes people get hit first into these situations, right? And then when they don't work in their favor, this is when we have these battles. And I feel like that needs to be a conversation, right? Prior to like you find out you're pregnant. Okay, like what are we doing? Are we gonna stay together? You know what I'm saying? And I know things come about because I think as mature adults, but as mature adults, like if our best interest is our child, then that's what we feed off of, right? And this is going to go into another topic, we were thinking about discussing, which is co-parenting, right? Because now we're not even just talking about monetary things, right? We're talking about how to make this work for our child and how to take our egos out of this situation,
But
right?
you,
And not battle each other through courts and financial means.
but I feel like you're not being realistic. I hear you, but I feel like you're not being realistic. Now, again, there's that very few. I know one of them. I ain't gonna lie, I know one of them. There's very few, but some people, some parents, some other, the mom or the dad can be reasonable, and y'all could work shit out as parents. I know one for certain. You know what I'm saying? But to be clear, um, I don't think like you being realistic. I feel like you're talking about all of that. They just need to talk about this shit. Nah, some of
Because
them
I,
not
and,
taking
when I,
care.
and, when I, and let me be very
They
clear.
should be able to feel that way though. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
you're wrong about it.
Okay. But let me be very clear, right? So speaking, like I said again, I'm super biased because I don't want to say luxury. I had the luxury of not having to deal with that whole situation,
No,
right?
I feel you. I
Through,
feel you. It's a
through,
luxury.
through different through different circumstances. Like I didn't have to worry about co-parenting. I didn't have to worry about child support and things of that nature, right? Um, and I think for me, right now, were there still issues and stuff? Of course. But I didn't have anyone to tell me how to parent my child, or anybody like, oh, I'm giving you this for this and that, because everything was from me, right? Um, so I get what you're saying, but I feel like when it comes to the support thing, like, there is a reason why the system is in place. And I'm not saying every person, male or female, needs to be a part of that system. But there are people, right? We know, we've seen, we've heard, there are people who choose not to do for their children for whatever reason, right? They're not going to say, like, okay, we're not together anymore this day, and I can give you this amount to help, right? Or I can give you this amount because this is my child. It's the right thing to do. So what is the other parent supposed to do, right? So I get what you're saying from the perspective of, oh, I'm an active parent. I do this, that, and the third for my children. Like, I'm not one of the people who should have to go to court to be like, oh, here's how much you can take out of my check. Or I shouldn't be a person who, if I switch jobs and the money don't come through right away, like, I got a bench warrant, right? I get that. But let's talk about the majority of people who aren't on that type of time, whether it's a mom or a dad. The majority of people, like, whatever, if that kid, if that male, if that female, like, I ain't doing nothing. So what is the alternative for a person who is now a single parent, right? And they need additional support. And sometimes the only way to get that is to go through the system of getting medical from the state, getting food stamps from the state, getting cash to the state so you can get a job, right? And granted, there are some people who abuse the system, right? Who finagle the system, who do whatever, but a child needs to be supported, however that looks like.
100%.
And unfortunately, someone's going to get the shitty end of the stick, right? Because someone is going to feel slighted, and we know our emotions lead us to certain things.
I don't agree with that though, but I feel you.
You don't agree with what?
That somebody got to get a city game stick. Stick, excuse me.
But I'm saying somebody is going to get it,
No, I get it.
whether
I get
it's
it.
the one parent saying, I'm not doing anything,
I
right?
get
Or
it.
the parent
Right,
saying,
right,
I don't feel what you're doing is enough, so I'm going to court, right?
right.
It can be both of those things. I'm
Right.
just saying, at some point in time, it's inevitable that someone gets the shitty end of the stick. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying, if you look at relationships of people who've had a child and who are no longer together, at one point in time, we're going to say before maturity kicks in, before they really stop wanting to deal and be and feel and are, disgusted with each other, somebody get the shit into the stick. And that looks like different things, right?
I want to close this out, and I appreciate your time. I want to jump into another topic, so we're gonna close this one out. And thank you, JC, for your time. It was a
You're
great,
welcome.
great session.
This is a good one.
It was.
See y'all
Peace.
later.